Today we're going to talk about the violin. It's one of the older instruments in the symphony. Now, not the oldest, right? The oldest is probably the flutes, which archaeologists have found flutes from like 40 to 60,000 years ago, but the violin is pretty old. It was developed around 1500 in northern Italy, probably in Cremona, also in Brescia. Way back then, when they first started making violins, there were different families and they were violin makers. We had like the Amati family, Stradivari, and Guarneri. Now, they made these violins. They sound phenomenal, and we still have them today if you were lucky enough to ever even get close to one. They are very, very expensive, but for good reason. So if you go and hear like a world-famous violinist, they're probably playing a Guarneri or a Stradivarius or an Amati. Now, the violin became pretty popular pretty quickly. Not only does it have a wide range as far as like the notes itself, but because there's bowing and there's different ways of bowing, there's so many ways to add texture to the notes, not just like a flute playing. And yes, they have spiccato and regular, but we have so many ways, I'm a violinist, to express each note. Even a down bow will sound different than an up bow. We can put accents in the middle of a note. The bow gives us such flexibility to how we allow a note to sound. Bowing is truly really, really important because it is where the sound actually is made. So if you want to know how a violin creates the sound, then we have sound waves. Now, each bow is made out of a bunch of horsehair. Not all horses can do this, okay? Now, these horse hairs, imagine they're like a line of hair and then they're coarse. So think of it like a bunch of little split ends. Let me make a draw. Okay, this is my fancy drawing. That's one bow hair, a bunch of little split ends. And those split ends pull on the string and create a vibration, which creates the sound wave. So when they're making the bow, they put every other hair the other way so that no matter which way you're bowing, there's still things pulling on the hair. As you play or as you're touching the bow hair, don't touch the bow hair, these little split ends lay down. Then you get rosin and you bust it back up, the split ends go back up and you hear sound again. Also, the more you pull, the more little, I'm going to call them split ends. The more little split ends pull on it, so the more vibration, so the louder it is. The slower you bow, the less loud it is. If you push down hard, it's just going to make a sound. It's not really pretty. So volume is not necessarily created by putting a lot of pressure on the bow. It's more by the speed of the bow on the string. And finally, why do violins and other bow instruments like playing sharps? Why we prefer it over flats? Because it is easier for us. If I'm in the key of C, and that means that if I'm playing a scale, I start on a C, I end on a C, then